All right, everybody, this is the You Should Think This podcast. Today is a huge day in Spartan Nation. I feel like all Spartans woke up with a smile on their face. Going to the Rose Bowl, folks. First time since '88, playing Stanford. Got a big team ahead of us, but this team's incredible. I think we're all excited. I got my buddy Jake here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Good. If you guys remember, Jake was on talking about D Rose last time he was here. But one of the biggest Spartan fans I know, if not the biggest. So, of course, we got to talk about what just happened. Big game, man. I feel like no one thought we had a chance. Actually, maybe they did. A lot of people doubted OSU. But everybody is just ecstatic about what happened. That was an incredible game.
It was an awesome game, and to be honest with you, I really felt like we got a lot of momentum going into the game as the week went on, and Michigan State kind of became America's team a little bit with Auburn upending Alabama. A lot of people, right after the SEC title game, tuned into the Big Ten game. It was very cool for Michigan State to have an opportunity to influence not only the Big Ten title picture, but the national title picture. That doesn't happen too often for Spartan football fans, so it's a great day to be an MSU football fan.
It is, and I live down in Atlanta now, so I'm in the heart of SEC country, and all those Auburn fans, especially Auburn fans, but all the SEC fans were rooting for Michigan State and congratulating me and all that stuff because they needed us. Because your mighty SEC, when it came down to it, needed the Big Ten to bail them out. Just saying.
Yeah, it was all week long. I don't know. I was thinking that I was really toiling over the schedules, looking at a lot of different things, and I really thought that the SEC maybe isn't as strong as a lot of people like to think it is. That's a whole nother argument, but it was really it was good for Michigan State to be in the national picture for even just a short moment, and really to have the SEC fans pulling for us. It was kind of a cool thing. It was a lot of people were rooting for the Spartans, and we did kind of have to bail them out. So it's very cool to influence the national picture like that.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, that is an argument for another day. An addendum to that argument, and bigger thing in my mind, I feel like I know the SEC is good. And I know they're the top conference. I'm not arguing that. But the Big Ten was not as weak, I don't think, as people were saying, especially when you compare it to the ACC and the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Those other conferences, it's not like they were head and shoulders above us. I'd put Michigan State against anybody from any one of those conferences, any day of the week.
I'd have to agree with you. It definitely was still the SEC's year. I still think they were probably the best overall conference top to bottom. But the gap is closing, and especially the gap between the SEC and the Big Ten. Top to bottom, our top teams looked a little bit more solid. It's tough when Ohio State loses and didn't really play too tough of a schedule. But Michigan State looks like a hell of a football team. And even in the mid-level teams, Nebraska has a very winnable bowl matchup against Georgia, 2-8-4 teams. Minnesota could win their bowl matchup. Purdue was a solid team this year, better than a lot of people expected. Iowa kind of rallied towards the end of the season. If Wisconsin hadn't lost to that hot Iowa team at the end of the year, they were an outside BCS at-large team if Michigan State wasn't able to win the Big Ten Championship. So really top to bottom, I think, almost everyone except for, I love to say it, the Michigan Wolverines really did their part in making the conference look a lot stronger this year than last year.
That's true. Well put. But going into that game, man, I bet you were just like me. I was hyped. I was so worked up, dude. I was in my living room by myself. My girlfriend had gone to the store, so I had the house to myself. I was literally pacing back and forth in my living room, just singing Lose Yourself by Eminem. Not even the words from it, like the literal soundtrack from it. Just hyping myself up, just waiting for kickoff. You do anything? I know you're the same style I am. You just get real worked up before games.
I was very intense for this one. I was actually in Detroit. I had just gone down there for the weekend to watch the MAC championship game. My uncle's a big NIU alumni, and I've been an NIU fan my whole life. So it was a great thing for me to have the Spartans kind of bail me out. After Saturday, we were all in a bad mood. NIU got their butts kicked. So it was very cool to watch the state game. We were at a hotel for the pregame part of it, and I was kind of the same way. Everyone else was talking, drinking, having a good time, but I was thinking all about the game. A lot of just intense moments of flexing. I was almost doing a haka, the Samoan war dances. I was really excited for the game. I couldn't wait for kickoff to get started and to get that bad MAC title game taste out of my mouth.
I hear you. Dude, I was so worked up, but you know what almost de-hyped me? Were those phony-ass Fox scripted pre-game shows that they forced MSU and OSU to go through, where it's just our players and it's just one at a time, just one dude reading a sentence in monotone, we are the Michigan State Spartans, and we really want to win this game. And then it like zooms out, and they're all together, and they're all like, yeah, and then that's it. It's like they're terrible. I hate those videos.
I agree with you. I don't know why they didn't even let the players just say what they wanted. I mean, we saw from the post-game interviews, Michigan State certainly has some colorful characters. And maybe they did that for our own good to keep us from just saying whatever we wanted. But I don't know. I think it would have been cool maybe to let a little of that personality that both teams had shine through a little bit. But I'd have to agree. The pregame was kind of weak. I don't know how Fox's overall coverage stacked up for all you guys, but I don't know, really top to bottom. Not my favorite channel to watch college football game on.
I feel like, yeah, Fox does a really good job, in my opinion, with NFL, but kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that game. But what I think they should have done is just highlights, man. Show some big hits, show some long Langford runs, stuff like that. Maybe set it to some type of way by Rich Homie Quan.
Yeah.
Maybe show some locker room dancing because I always listen to that song. I mean, they could have done it so much better than just like a little. It was so obviously scripted. The players didn't want to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of Fox's thing. I feel like they dumb it down a little bit to have more of a mass appeal, as they're kind of the top network competing with ESPN right now. But I agree. Maybe just both of these teams have a lot of highlight plays. Both of the teams have a lot of character and personality. And some type of way would have been a perfect setting, I think, for Michigan State to get ready for that game.
Yeah. I mean, maybe when you're not a fan, maybe if you're just like some third party middle of the road person, maybe that got you fired up. But as an MSU alum, I wanted to see just more football, less dudes in a warehouse and more football.
Oh, absolutely! This is the biggest Big Ten title game in years, and I think a lot of people felt the same way. So, well, yeah. No complaints from me on that analysis.
Luckily, only us fans were kind of dehyped by it because our team came out swinging, man. And maybe I should rewind on that. Our first drive, OSU kind of bailed us out. They came out incredibly undisciplined. However, we capitalized on it, and then after that, we came out swinging. We came out knocking their offense off the field. Our offense came back out, put up 17 quick points.
I kind of have an interesting take on it, and I thought that the Michigan State actually didn't do too bad on that first drive, and it was a lot bigger than most people realized. Yeah, Ohio State was very undisciplined, like you said. Several pass interference calls, the personal foul or the late hit when Langford almost got up and was just as undisciplined, got right back at the Ohio State guy. But the fact that we were able to keep our calm, get a couple of third down conversions, some long third down conversions, and some second and longs, and really overcome that and just get 3 points on the board, settle everyone down, get the first score, and then immediately go and get the 3 and out with the huge hit by Wings where he flipped the guy, get the ball back, score another touchdown, go up 10.
Yeah.
They really just held their ground, held the initial wave of kickoff, the big Ohio State storm, probably mostly about 70% Ohio State fans, I'd say, just from watching on TV. And they were able to weather that storm, get some early points, and really look strong for a majority of the first half.
Yeah, and I feel like OSU comes out and teams are so afraid of them, and I don't think they were used to a team being just, we were not afraid, period.
No way.
Like, we were so ready. Everybody on the team was ready, and they blinked. It was we were staring each other down. OSU blinked. And next thing you know, 17 points on the board to OSU's nothing. And not only nothing, but drives weren't even looking good. It's not like they went far and missed a field goal or something. They just couldn't move the ball, period.
Yeah, I mean, up until Braxton Miller had that one long run, I think it was midway through the second quarter maybe, they were looking real flat. It was. And State was looking very characteristic in that they're tough and they are not intimidated, and that's really reflective of the head coach, D'Antonio. But they said they were going to come out and look that way and act that way and play that way, and they really did. I mean, you got to give them props. Not intimidated, didn't flinch, held their ground. They look strong and they look tough, especially on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting. And you mentioned that Trey Wayans hit earlier, and it makes me just realize, I feel like no team in the nation has tougher corners. Like, our dudes, when they close in on a running back or if they close in on a tackle, they don't hesitate. Like, these guys go balls to the wall all the way till the hit. Trey Wayans flipped hide. And he didn't even slow down as he closed in on him either. He just railed him and popped right back up. And you see that every week with this team.
Yeah, really, all season long, even games when they've struggled in coverage and maybe looked a little flat, the corners have never been afraid to hit. And as a former DB in high school, I can't tell you how much of a strength that brings to not just your team and your defense, but really everyone, you get them fired up, your secondary gets going. The big hits help you get more focused on the game, and they'll actually help you in coverage in the long run. Your receivers are a little bit afraid to go across the middle, afraid to extend their arms on the catch. They hear footsteps. And both guys, Denard, who might be the Thorpe winner for best DB in the nation, and Trey Waynes, both
Hmm.
excellent physical corners, and you really can't oversell how big that was for this defense all season long.
But on Saturday, I just feel like those corners, they took that passing game. It just completely just took them out of the game. I mean, Braxton Miller, for long stretches of that game, looked like he wanted no business throwing it. He dropped back, and everybody in the stadium knew he was going to run it. He wasn't passing that ball, period.
No, I mean, they had maybe one play over the top where a receiver got loose and got behind Curtis Drummond, I believe it was, in the secondary. But Braxton was under pressure and was forced to overthrow the ball. And other than that, like, I agree, he was dropping back and he was looking to run. They knew he was looking to run. Everyone in the stadium knew he was looking to run, and they took away the passing game, and it was really a non-factor almost all day long.
I haven't watched a ton of like Braxton Miller tape, but I'd never realized that he doesn't really have that great of touch on the ball. I feel like he can hit an open guy and he can buy time and he can run around and hit a guy while he's running. But when it comes to maybe like a flag route where he has to drop it in on the sidelines, no way. He doesn't even attempt those things.
No, and that's really my biggest knock on Miller is a lot of people talk about what a playmaker he is, what a great college football player he is. And to me, that's all he is. He's a great college football player. I'm not going to knock his career or his stats because they speak for themselves. But he has had such little development from freshman year to now his junior year. Throwing the ball, people thought Urban Meyer would come in, he'd win the Heisman. And maybe he deserves some outside consideration, but he hasn't developed a touch. He isn't really progressing in his passing game, either throwing the ball down the field or even across the middle. He misses a lot of easy throws. He looks intimidated in the pocket, and his numbers in the Big Ten title game, 8 for 21, 101 yards, 38.1% completion percentage, and 1 touchdown. He's really a non-factor throwing the football, and that to me is the big difference between him and an elite level pro prospect college football style quarterback.
True, true, because you can't. I mean, everybody knows you can't run. You can't make a career running in the
No,
NFL. Even a guy like Mike Vick, who was untouchable, he was a video game in real life. I mean, what do you ever really do?
yeah,
You know
he
what
had
I mean?
one playoff win maybe, and his always was being knocked to this day for his lack of touch and consistency with the accurate pass.
Yeah, and I feel like Braxton Miller won't even get that sort of opportunity
No.
because he's not even that type of quarterback. You know, he might get a late flyer. You know what? He might get a relatively early one because he's pretty big. He's got the build of an NFL quarterback, but I don't think he'll ever pan out. He'll probably top off at what Terrell Pryor is right now.
Yeah,
You know, another
yeah.
OSU guy
He
too.
he definitely needs to work on his footwork, and I mean, like you said, he has the size and the athleticism and the build, but the mental aspects, the mechanics, and the accuracy, especially with the deep ball, they just aren't there for him to be a consistent, not even elite, but just a good quality 8 to 10 win level NFL quarterback.
Like yeah, like you just can't see any level of competency from him in the next level in the
Yeah.
NFL level. But our secondary, man, I can't get over how good our secondary is. I feel like we got Denard, like you said, might win the Thorpe. You got Trey Waynes, who played his butt off in that game. He's played great all season after not really replacing Johnny Adams, but kind of. You know, Denard kind of stepped up, replaced Johnny Adams,
Yeah.
and Trey Waynes kind of replaced Denard in a way, even though he's still on the team. But you even look at our safeties, like Curtis Drummond balled out all year. Isaiah Lewis came into this game, and of anybody on that entire team, who do you think wanted to win that game more than Isaiah Lewis, who had that just crucial, I don't want to say game losing, because it's hard to put an entire game on one play, but just a crucial faux pas in the last Big Ten title game right there. I know we were frustrated with him for forever, but I forgive him now.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, there's no bigger monkey off anyone's back, and no one wanted to win this game more than Isaiah Lewis. I was a big time Isaiah doubter, and it really held it against him for costing us that Wisconsin title game in 2011. But he really redeemed himself, and top to bottom, like you said, the secondary, Wayne's filling in for Denard, how good he was last year behind Adams when Adams kind of struggled to be the lead dog that he was for most of his career. Denard taking his game, stepping it to another level, possibly the best DB in the whole nation this year. Really fantastic. And Curtis Drummond, Mr. Underrated, I think he was the backbone to our secondary. Never let anyone behind him. a solid tackler, probably the second best in the secondary behind Denard all season long. And then Isaiah Lewis, who was probably the hardest hitter of the secondary, and they all were playmakers, made big plays, and really stepped up to take this defense from a great level to the elite, probably a top defense in the nation level.
And the secondary just they rail guys out there. I feel like our secondary hits as hard as a lot of teams like
Oh, absolutely.
linebackers. They're fearless. They're absolutely fearless. I love watching them play. So it's such a prideful um, unit to have back there, back in our defense.
Yeah, it's awesome. As a former DB, I love watching good defense, and they really make you proud. The Spartan defense, and especially that secondary, they are elite.
Yeah. But it's nice to now see us getting that national credit. I mean, we had the number one ranked defense. We're from a BCS conference, but you never heard ESPN really bring us up as any sort of elite defense or anything to be reckoned with until now. And I think people are we're opening eyes out there. Obviously, I mean, we jumped all the way to fourth. I did not see that coming. I thought we were going to jump to sixth at most. And the polls came out and we were fourth.
Yeah,
Man,
I
I just about
actually
jumped out of my
found out
pants.
about the polls from you. I was so surprised. I was waiting for the polls to come out, and I did not expect us to jump all the way to fourth either. That's huge. And really, I agree. All season long, you kind of would hear them mention, "Oh, Sparty's got a good defense. Michigan State's got a good defense." But the knock on us all year long was, who do we play? And really, we got a chance to play against some elite competition. And like Nick Saban said in the pregame on College Game Day the morning before the game, that we might have one of the toughest, if not the toughest, defense in the nation. And we are every bit as capable as any SEC defense. And we proved that shutting down one of the nation's most high-powered offenses in Ohio State.
Yeah, and I feel like, yeah, maybe our schedule wasn't as tough as an SEC laden schedule, but it's not like we were going out there and beating these teams by a field goal or beating them by a touchdown. We were going out there and we allowed single digits in 6 games. We went 12 straight quarters without allowing a touchdown. Like, we literally throttled that division or that whole conference. Really,
Yeah.
everybody we
You can
played, we
ask the
throttled
Legends
them.
division if we took a single week off, and I don't think anyone would say yes. One of the most overlooked stats, even though they talked about it a decent amount at the Big Ten Championship game, we won every single Big Ten game by double-digit points. You can say some games were late scores, some games were farther apart than they should have been, but you can't make excuses for 10-point victories, including the Big Ten Championship game. We won 34-24. No matter what happened, late in the game, fourth quarter, they shut it down, they took control, and like you said, 12 quarters where they didn't allow a touchdown, and I think it was 4 straight games where they gave up less than 6 points, including 2 shutouts in that stretch. They were dominant. No one all season long, good teams or bad teams, could move the ball against Michigan State.
Period. It was so awesome to watch a defense that was that suffocating too. Like I never realized. I mean, you love watching high-powered offenses, and it's fun to watch your team put up 50 plus on a team. It's a whole different game when you turn on the TV and you fully expect the other team to score 9 points or 6 points. It's a whole different animal that when your team scores 14 and you're like, oh, well, we won because the other team's not going to get in the end zone.
It's really something that I tried to embrace all season long because this is a once-in-a-lifetime defense. Really, I tried to enjoy it because you're not going to see many
Oh,
defenses like
absolutely.
this who just, that even if your team comes in and scores 14 points, 17 points, 21 points, you have not just a regular shot, but a really good shot at winning a football game. And all season long, no matter how our offense looked, the defense would keep us in it. And Connor Cook and Langford and a lot of those guys, they would take their time, they would build momentum, they would rally, have great second halves, great fourth quarters. But none of that was possible if the defense doesn't carry us for most of the beginning of the season. I mean, you remember the first 3 weeks, covered even on this blog. How poor did
Oh
we look
God,
against USF on offense? And how many times did our offense have to rely on our defense to keep us in the games with 21-3 wins and, just terrible offensive outputs? But we only lost one time, and that's the defense is to praise for that.
definitely, because it did take us. I mean, Connor Cook was taking or sharing first team reps. I want to say for the first 4 weeks, and I kept saying, because I want Michigan State as much as the next guy. I want Michigan State to be considered a national big time program, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, what type of big time program doesn't know who their quarterback is 4 weeks into the season? And I was very down on the team. And then you saw as soon as the word was out and D'Antonio was like, enough is enough. Connor Cook, this is your job. Connor Cook, something just switched on in him, and he just became so confident, ran that team. efficiently, very rarely, if ever, turns over the ball, very rarely makes bad throws. He's progressed so much this
I
season. He's
don't
so much
think
fun
top
to
to
watch.
bottom you'll see a more improved player this season in college football than Connor Cook. Big Ten title game, he was 24 of 40 for 304 yards, 60% completion, 3 touchdowns, and the rare interception. But all season long, I put him in the category of not necessarily an elite quarterback, but he was an elite game manager. He was mostly a game manager who didn't turn the ball over, kept you in the game. But if you really look at every single big time or close game this season, especially in the fourth quarter, he really rose to the occasion. Several 300-yard passing days, a lot more 3-4 touchdown days than people expected. He set the school record in one game against Illinois with a 92 or 93% completion percentage. He took care of the football. He
I
really just
remember that.
evolved. And the stat before the Big Ten title game I saw, it was 10, but now it's up to 11. He won 11 games, which is the most of any quarterback in the nation who wasn't the day one opening starter. And I really just wish, it's too bad that the decision wasn't made a week earlier, because I feel like the only reason we really lost to Notre Dame, besides those questionable pass interference calls, was the identity at quarterback was lacking, and they were always looking over their shoulder. But once we really committed to Cook, he knew he wasn't going to be pulled for every mistake. He settled in, and he evolved, and he really grew as a quarterback.
And then, if it wasn't for those questionable pass interference calls that were very
Yeah,
questionable,
questionable, you could say again.
incredibly questionable, we would be talking about a team possibly going to the
Yeah,
national championship. You know, because we'd be undefeated. That would have been that's our only loss. If it wasn't for a couple, maybe 4 to 5 questionable, incredibly questionable pass interference calls, we could have been fighting for the top spot, which would have been unreal. I don't even want to think about that. That's too much. I'm not ready to think about something like that.
you could go crazy thinking about it, and honestly, it just breaks my heart. There's so many what ifs, and if it had just been, oh man, 1 year earlier or 1 year later, we could be in the, we're the four. We would be in the BCS playoff system playing against Florida State, who,
Yeah, I know.
like we
Yeah,
talked about, Florida State is really a team of the top four, us, Auburn, Florida State, and Alabama. Florida State's the team that Michigan State matched up the best with, and I would be most excited in watching a matchup and play.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking like if I had to pick any team to play, I would want to play Florida State because Alabama lost on the most outrageous finish in like college football history. I honestly think
I'd have to
they're
agree.
probably the best team in the nation. Auburn, yeah, Auburn has one loss, and on top of that, they had no business beating Georgia. They had no business beating Alabama. And then I would love to play Florida State just because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think the ACC is good.
No, and I think
I
Florida
don't.
State hurt themselves in my eyes the most by their biggest game of the year, and you can't really fault them for this. But when they played Clemson, they blew them out, and then they won 45-7 in the ACC title game. If you want to talk about strength of schedule question marks, Florida State has the biggest one of them all.
Yeah, did you know that according to the actual like strength of schedule rankings, I don't know who makes those, but the one that like ESPN uses and stuff, Ohio State has a harder schedule than Florida State. It's actually ranked higher than Florida State. Not by much. I want to say OSU 72 and Florida State was 76. I don't know if those are dynamic rankings, like if they change continuously throughout the season, but I do know that 2 weeks ago OSU had a harder schedule. So suck it, ACC and SEC while you're down there.
Yeah, yeah, it would be very interesting to find out if those schedules are dynamic. But I really do think that Florida State played the weakest schedule of the top four, and like you said, Auburn, lucky bounce on a Hail Mary at Georgia and a field goal kick away from being in fourth and a two-loss team. I think they're arguably the worst of the top four.
And speaking of that field goal return, do you know who Alabama's special teams coach is?
No, I do not actually.
Former Spartan Bobby Williams
No way, Bobby Williams.
from the dog days of being a Spartan fan. Yeah,
Oh man, I can't. Oh, of all the guys to keep in ties with from your Spartan days, Nick Saban keeps in touch with Bobby Williams.
I know, right?
Oh man, that's a blast from the past right there.
I'm pretty sure in the meeting they were like, Coach, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know you could return those. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm sure Bobby had those boys well prepared.
Yeah, he always had us well prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so refreshing to see our football team this good. And also, being a Spartan fan is it's a life of a lot of disappointment. It's a lot of almost theirs and a lot of like this closes
chip on the
and what
shoulder.
ifs. Yeah. And this was one of those seasons that was like the complete opposite. We started out looking terrible, and we not only exceeded expectations, but we blew past expectations. We can't even see our original expectations in the rearview mirror anymore.
Honestly, I'm so proud to be a Spartan right now because the usual case of a Spartan fan is we're overhyped at the beginning of the year, and it all comes crashing down, and it's just egg on our face, so embarrassing. We never live up to the hype. But this year, I feel like almost everyone was tempering expectations, especially with the slow start, the way the offense looked, and now it's so fun. Like you said, we put our preseason expectations way in the rearview mirror, and I'm proud to say I did not expect this team to win the Legends, let alone the whole Big Ten. But we were definitely the best team in the Big Ten, top to bottom this year, and it's really cool, and I'm very proud to say that as a Michigan State alum and fan.
Going into the Stanford game on December 1st, New Year's Day, the lines came out. I think we're 6-point underdogs. What do you think about that?
You know what? That's tough. Stanford's got 2 losses. I kind of consider us, I'd definitely be ahead of them in the rankings. It's another thing when you're handicapping games. They're going to be a tough football team. It'll be a very interesting matchup. We're both hard-nosed, tough teams on defense. Like to grind it out with the run. Quarterbacks who can manage the game and make plays when they have to, but not all the time. It will be very interesting. If there's any team that's tougher than Michigan State, it's Stanford. I don't know if that's possible, but it will be. This game's going to be physical. Put your big boy pants on because they're going to be hitting. Wear your pads. And I think the key to the difference in the game, though, is going to be a guy that we haven't talked about much, but I think deserves all the credit in the world for our success this year, Jeremy Langford. He's a little bit more dynamic than the Stanford running backs, and I think that he's so solid, so big in big games, and I think between him and the defense, I think we're gonna carry it in a close one.
Dude, like in big games is something that people have not been saying too much about Langford about. I feel like, I mean, he's rattled off 8 consecutive 100-yard games, but in 3 of our last 4 games, actually, it might have been 4 of them, he has a big run in the fourth quarter to close every game. He had a big run on Saturday to put us up 10 and essentially close the door. He had a big run against Nebraska in the fourth quarter. He had a big run against Northwestern in the fourth quarter and Michigan. Every single one of ththose games, he had like a 30, 40-yard plus touchdown in the fourth quarter that really just slammed the door on teams. And to think about it, too, is he was a wide receiver. Was he recruited as a running back? He had to have played running back.
Langford was kind of recruited as a running back, safety hybrid. Definitely a slot receiver was a possibility, but he was always a very physical guy, so they were going to kind of have him as a hard-hitting safety. But really, he's not super explosive, but he runs and he runs hard, and I think that the transition to running back was good for him. He did play running back in high school, though, so it was a little natural to him. He doesn't necessarily have that explosion or the high YPC that you're looking for in a star running back, Heisman type, headline guy, but he is 5 to 6 yards a pop. He's so solid. He gets a lot of carries, but he gets a lot of yards. 130, 140-yard games all the time. Heavy touchdown load. He's a workhorse back. And like you said, so many big game-winning runs. Michigan, Northwestern, Nebraska. I don't know if Minnesota was another one, too. He really was just absolutely critical to the Spartans this year, amassing well over 100 yards. And I don't know if he quite got to double-digit touchdowns, but he was up there, and he was really...
Oh, no. Yeah, did he finish 17
okay.
touchdowns?
Yeah, I don't...
That shocked me when I saw it, but I saw it about a week ago, but it shocked me when I saw it. 17, that's a lot.
Yeah, he was a workhorse back, and I didn't know how often he necessarily got in the end zone, but I know that he always would carry us, especially between the 20s. He really helped us get through the middle drives, the middle parts of the field. And another thing that's not talked about is with Langford possessing the ball so much, we dominated time of possession almost every matchup this season. That was huge to rest the defense and to let the offense gain the rhythm and really help us control games and play at the pace we wanted.
Yeah, it was, man. We would just grind teams down. I think that's why he had so many late, big fourth quarters, was because teams they were defeated, just mentally and physically, from getting punched in the mouth over and over by our offensive line and our defense. And he would just close them out. He's a good player. I'm excited for him next year. Is he a sophomore?
I believe he's a junior. Yeah.
He's a junior? Okay, then good. We'll have him one more year. See him as a senior, have a full year under his belt, because you could really see at the beginning of the year, he wasn't quite reading holes as fluidly as, maybe we were just used to Le'Veon Bell, but he wasn't reading holes as fluidly as you'd want a guy to. But that switched about halfway through the year. I'm really excited to see a full year great play from the kid.
Yeah,
He's a good
I
player.
agree. I'm excited when he's a full year as definitely the number one starter. He had a little competition in camp this year, but I want to see if he'll take that next step to maybe progress to be a little bit more of a dynamic runner. And it'll be interesting with kind of the senior who a lot of people thought would get more carries, Nick Hill out of the pitcher. We've got a lot of good up and coming running backs, so we'll see if R.J. Shelton or Delton Williams, who are a little bit more faster, can help be that lightning to the thunder of Jeremy Langford. And I think the Spartans' offense and backfield really will improve next year.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about our defense? I guess we still have one more game. I'm kind of talking about how the season's going to end, but we got some seniors leaving. You think any of them NFL
I
bound?
actually think that a decent amount of them will at least get a look, and I think that a few of them will have sustained success. Almost the entire secondary. It's a little early to tell on Trey Waynes, but I like the way he's progressing. Denard definitely, I think he has a first round pick potential. Lewis has the body of an NFL
Yeah,
player and the skill set. He's got a little bit of mental work to do, I think. And Drummond, a little undersized, but he brings it, so I think he'll have a look at least. Then you go to the defense, Danico, or the linebacker, sorry, Danico Allen. He's a little small, but he's a playmaker. He lives in the backfield. He's a really great pass rusher, and he's got a high motor. Max Bulla, one of the headiest players in college football. I definitely think there's room in middle linebacker in the NFL for a mind like that. Shalik Calhoun's almost a
definitely.
no-brainer to me. He's another first-round talent who could be a stud defensive end. I think he probably has the highest potential of almost any Spartan player going back quite a ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a good player. And the thing is, I just really hope to see him do. I hope he just stays through his senior year because I feel like Golston from last year, William Golston was incredibly talented, but he wasn't ready to go to the NFL, and I think we all knew that. I think the only person who didn't know that was William Golston, and it's shown. Like he barely even gets snaps in Miami. I think that's where he is in
yeah,
Miami.
I'd have to agree. I mean, I think that Shalik Calhoun's a great example of taking everything that Golston did wrong, kind of, hyping himself up a little bit too much, not controlling his attitude, using his talent, not really working at it. Shalik, everything that he's done wrong, Shalik's done the opposite. He's a high recruit, high
Yeah,
talent, but he works hard. He's got a great motor. He's one of the first in, last to leave in the weight room. He busts his butt, and he seems like a guy who kind of wants to maybe stay and temper his expectations. And he didn't get to play as early as Golston got to play either. He had to sit out a year, take his time, and I think that's really paying dividends for him, and I think it will if he continues to be
yeah.
patient.
Maybe that was humbling. Maybe that was humbling coming out of high school and having to sit for a little bit and having to watch
Yeah,
another guy learning from his mistakes. And I did notice I hadn't actually heard Shalik Calhoun ever speak until after the game on Saturday. He's a well-spoken, good kid. He like seems like a good guy. He seems like when he finished his interview, I was kind of like, whew, all right, good.
yeah,
A good interview from one of our players, our students, because these guys are students. Our students are sound and smart. Shalik Calhoun did a real good job, unlike some of the other guys. But those guys are all NFL
yeah.
bound, and I feel like if you go to any program in the
Uh,
nation,
you'll you'll
you
you'll
know,
definitely have
they're
your
just
share
as
of bad
bad.
interviews, but I too was very impressed with Shalik. He sounded well spoken and definitely the most mature of almost anyone on our team, except for of course Bulla and Denard. Danico Allen wasn't too bad, but it's good to see that the older guys, the senior leaders, and just your best players are your most composed, top to bottom, and the most well spoken and the most ready for all aspects of the game, including off the field stuff. That's good to see for a Spartan defense.
One last thing about Calhoun is, if people don't know who Calhoun is, he's the dude with just the big monster face
Justin
mask.
Tuck.
Looks terrifying out there. And dude, when he smiled, he's got the same exact smile. Dude, he's got a big ass smile full of pearly white. So I'm talking like bleach white, big beautiful smile, happy smile. And I swear to God, it looks just like his mask when the
Yeah.
dude smiles.
Shalik.
But it was good to see. It was good to see him sound good and other guys sound good, especially D'Antonio. You hear D'Antonio in the interview at the end, giving the rich
Yeah.
homie Quan
Yeah,
shout
that was
out.
awesome. Talking about how he's going to go do some type of way. It's great. Saying it was a great dance and he loves it. It's good to see a coach like that bond with the players. And it kind of makes it evident why he's able to kind of connect these inner city kids. And he really recruits Detroit hard. And that's where we've gotten some of our best athletes and playmakers the last couple of years is guys right from the homegrown area, right from Detroit and the inner city. And that's always a good skill to have in recruiting everywhere.
Yeah, and I think what's another thing great about D'Antonio, as far as personality goes, is you can tell he connects with the kids, like you said. He'll smirk here and there in the interview, but when after the whistle blows, the dude's business. He's straight business. stone-faced, taking care of every facet of the game. And it's awesome to see a coach who can go into business mode, but who can also relate with his kids. Unlike someone, if you look at like a Pete Carroll, who looks like at times like he's at like a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert on the sidelines, just like jamming, yelling, whooping. It's nice to see that kind of dichotomy from D'Antonio as such a hard ass during games and such a genius just coach overall, and then such like a nice, approachable, humble guy.
He's a good old-fashioned, old-school coach, which you love to see. He brings toughness to the team, and that's evident top to bottom on every player on the Spartans.
Yeah. All right, we'll kind of beat that team to death right now. We'll have to see what happens on New Year's Day. Any predictions?
I think it's going to be a tough battle, but I think that the Spartans really, their whole offense has improved. I think another month with the coaches is going to give a group that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but the wide receiving crew, who top to bottom, maybe individuals didn't stand out as much as they would have liked. The whole group really improved a lot from last year. And like I said, Langford and Cook being our key players, and our defense being, in my opinion, unquestioned number one in the nation. I think we win a close one, but I like the Spartans. I'm going to say 24-17, Michigan State. First Rose Bowl since '88 gets the W.
Yeah, I'm thinking a score something like that. I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked if either team scores 30. But I'm looking at a score. I'm thinking somewhere around 21 and lower between each team, because both teams like to control the clock. There's probably going to be less actual plays ran in this game than a typical football game, because we run the ball, we run out the clock.
I think it'll be a game that while you're watching it seems like it's pretty fast because there'll be a lot of running clock, but it's going to be a very physical, very demanding, punishing game. So towards the end, the players are going to show it a little bit, and I think that whichever team works a little harder, is in a little bit better conditioning, a little bit better shape, pushes a little harder, wants a little more, is going to win, and I think the Spartans will win the trenches. Their defense will just want it a little bit more, so will those skill players. And I think they'll pull it out with less than 50 total points scored. I think it'll be well less, actually. So I'd have to agree on a low-scoring physical time going off the clock control game.
Yeah, I didn't get to see what the over-under was on this game, but if it's 48 or lower, it's probably even lower than that. It's probably like 44. If I was a betting man.
If we were.
Which I'm not.
Of course.
Which we're not, because that's illegal.
I've never even thought of it.
Yeah, until I just brought it up.
Until just now. But if we were, I'd take the under in that game.
I think I would too. I think I would also take Michigan State +6.
I would as well.
Like we were saying earlier, we've won every game by double digits.
Yep.
And our defense is way too good for us to get blown out in a game. No team can pull away from us. That's how good our defense is.
I don't see, unless it's a last-second touchdown in a tie ball game, I don't even see us losing by a touchdown, 6 or 7 points. I think a field goal or less, Spartans keep it close, but I like the Spartans to win this one.
That's true. Unless it's a late, and that's always unpredictable. Yeah. Unless it's late, I agree with what you just said. But that's really all moot because we would never bet. That's not our style, so that's not really relevant. It's really not. Stay in school. But I guess that's enough about football. Want to do a quick little thing about basketball? I know we're coming off a loss, what seems like a month ago. We haven't played in forever. We don't play again for forever. There's a long, mysterious break, but I guess we kind of need it. Yeah, only about 2 games in the first 17 days or 15 days in December. And I don't know if it's a good thing. It's always nice to get a break. And, I mean, maybe we do need it to work. We need to practice, but I don't know. We did show signs of rust. We got outworked by UNC. I don't think that talent-wise they didn't really look like they were better than us, which is why I'm not too worried, but it is always a little concerning when a team comes in, especially on your home floor in a big game, outworks you and dives for the loose balls and makes you look a little soft and a little sluggish, especially a team like UNC who's beaten us so many big games in the recent years. You'd think we'd want to show them up when we're the number 1 team in the nation. Yeah. For once, can we just beat UNC? Can we not get beat by that team? Unbelievable. But he just has our number. It just one of those things that bugs me. What bugs me most is there was a really nice line on that game, and when we've been playing so good, some people who might be gamblers might have put money on that game, and I feel bad for those people. That's not me, but those people, they probably did that. I would feel bad for those people too, but it's not you, so you don't have to worry about that. And that's not really an issue that you have to deal with. That's not your personality. I've been meaning to ask you after this, if you got $20 I could borrow. Yeah. I think I got some cash. I can help you out of this jam. Thanks. But Yeah, like you're saying, man, we just got outworked, and like that's just one thing you don't want to see, especially from a Tom Izzo coach team. And that's one thing Izzo doesn't want to see. I guarantee those guys got beat up in practice the next day.
Oh yeah,
Guarantee you that.
I'm sure they pulled the pads out and had the war drill the next day because they look soft and they need to really crash the boards, which is uncharacteristic of a Spartan team to not crash the boards, but they need to get a little physical toughness, especially in the interior, if we want to live up to the potential, which I think is a national championship team.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We got two top five ranked teams right now.
Yeah.
I think. Quick thought without checking it. I think we're the only team with both in the top five. I want to say we're absolute. We might even be the both top 10. I don't think there's any other schools that are both in the
Ohio
top
State
10.
might be top 10 in both.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Ohio State actually jumped us. They're three. Yeah, in basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, they're three in basketball.
We're the highest one-loss team, I believe, in basketball.
I think we can turn things around. It's really early. I kind of like that we had this long break because Harris tweaked his ankle. Maybe get that.
That will be big in the long run, the health of the Spartans, especially Harris, and a guy like Dawson's who's had problems. So the break, while we might get rusty, it will be good in the long run, and it'll be exciting to come into the Big Ten season kind of fresh and with a new outlook on what we need to accomplish.
For sure. One thing, I'm going to catch you off guard with a question. If you had to pick one guy on our team who's not an MSU, like, if you took a non-MSU fan and you had to tell him one guy on the team that was like, watch out for this guy. You've never heard of him, but watch out for this guy. Who would that be?
That's tough. I would say that the obvious answer is probably Denzel Valentine, a guy who can do a little bit of everything, a guy who is probably could be the X factor, key to success when he's out there, when he's playing well. The Spartans are probably going to play well because he can play a lot of different positions, almost 1 through 4, probably 1 through 3.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest key to our success is going to be Travis Trice, believe it or not. I think I think he's the second best shooter on the team besides Gary Harris from deep. It's really key that when he comes in, he spells Appling, because I think Appling is the heart and soul of this team, believe it or not, as good as Gary Harris and Payne are. They're the best NBA prospects, but Appling is the heart and soul and the senior leader. So when he's out, Trice needs to come in and carry the load and make sure we can stay in games or extend leads. And I also think that when they're on the floor together, they need to space it and work together. And I think that when Travis Trice is playing well and knocking down shots, Michigan State is a lot tougher to beat than when he's struggling or sitting on the bench.
Yeah, and what's nice to see about Travis is he's put some weight on. He looks healthy.
Yeah.
He looked very small last year, and a lot of people didn't know, including the fans, that kind of kept it under wraps. Is he had like that weird brain injury. I still don't even know a whole lot about it. Not even a brain injury, maybe an illness, or I don't even know how to classify it. But something was wrong where he was losing a lot of weight. He was sleeping a lot, and you can tell that that's been fixed because he's put on a little bulk. He has a little more pep to his step, and it's good to see the kid fill out a little bit because he's kind of a small dude.
Yeah, there was really not a lot known about that, like you said, some kind of brain infection, and it really did prevent him, obviously, from keeping weight off and from getting work in, but it's obviously a little different now. He's looking healthy, he's looking strong, and he's looking bigger, like you said, and that's big, and that's good to see, not just for the Spartans, but for Travis Trice as a person as well. Good to see him healthy and moving around and looking good.
Definitely. I was going to say, like you said, mentioned Valentine and Trice. A guy I love the kid to death is Costello.
Yes.
Man, he's gotten so much better from the beginning of last year. He took over that UNC game for like a 3-minute stretch, and it was shocking.
Yeah.
Dude, he had the two-hand dunk. He went down and just sent someone in the third row with a block. It was just screaming and yelling. People were running up to him like, Costello, you got to calm down, dude. You're going to pass out if you keep yelling this hard.
Yeah.
But he was going ham out there. I love it.
He is a very underrated player that not a lot of people know about. But people don't know he was recruited. He was pretty highly recruited. He was Mr. Basketball, beating out Denzel Valentine in the state of Michigan.
He's no scrub.
And his defense really has improved. He looks like a showstopper inside. And if his offense can continue to improve, maybe add a little bit of a short-range, mid-range kind of jumper, continue to work on his inside finishing ability, he can be a real big game changer for the Spartans, especially on the defensive end.
Definitely, because the UNC game wasn't the only game where I left thinking, man, we look kind of soft.
Yeah.
And it would be nice for Costello to kind of fill that gap. I mean, Dawson does a great job of it, but Dawson's only, 6'6", 6'7"? He's not that big. Like, he's a strong dude, but you can't really throw him on a legit 5 and expect him to body him out, even though he is he's a football player out there. He's jacked.
Yeah, like you said, he's strong but not necessarily big. And Costello and even Garner to some degree and Schilling, like it's nice that the Spartans are always so big and they have guys off the bench who can come in and guard true fives, true fours, and true interior players, and throw some fouls on and play some physical defense. Costello is obviously the best of that bunch with the most evolved offensive game too, and I think that it's really key for him to be able to help out a guy like Brandon Dawson in his post defense.
Definitely. All right, well, I think that kind of wraps it up. Anything you want to add? Any news from Chicago sports?
No, I do want to give a shout out to my Naperville Central Redhawks. My alumni, or my alma mater high school, just won the state championships 8A in Illinois. That's pretty cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. So I just want to give a shout out to my former team. And it's a great time to be a Spartan fan. Number 5 in basketball, number 4 in football. Probably the best two-sport coached and on the field product team and school in the nation. So it's a great time to be a Michigan State fan.
Yeah, and for those young fans out there, I mean, we're young.
Yeah.
We're young too, but even younger than us. Soak this in because, I mean, you and I are we both 23 now? 23, 24?
Yeah, in the area.
Around there. This is the first Rose Bowl we've ever been able to see in our life. So, you never know if it's going to go another 25 years without one. I don't think it will. I think we'll be able to make some plays before that, but God forbid if there's a big drought again.
Yeah.
Live it up right now. Enjoy it.
You truly never know, and you really have to embrace this because I think we're building solid programs. I think we're building sustained success. I think we're in good hands between Mark Hollis, the AD, Izzo, and D'Antonio, but really enjoy this.
Narduzzi, you got to throw Narduzzi
absolutely.
out there, too.
He's so critical to the success of the football team. We could do a whole show on Narduzzi, but like you said, it's really just a good time. Enjoy it because there's not going to be many better times, probably in our lifetimes, to be a Spartan football and basketball fan and really a Spartan fan in general than the last couple of years and hopefully going in the future here.
Well, I guess last thing to say is just fuck Michigan, and thanks for being on. It was great talking to you again, bud.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yep, see ya.
Bye.